The foxglove arrives in tall spires out of the earth, like organ pipes for something you were never meant to hear directly. Bells stacked on top of bells. Each one is shaped like a small mouth that remembers how to speak without sound. Purple and pink speckles in it, like little fingerprints left by something that passed by too close to reality. And in the old world, people knew not to treat it casually. They called it Foxglove, which is symbols, dead man's bells. Because Foxglove was never just a little posy, it was a threshold in living form, a place where opposites meet without resolving. Healing and harm, medicine and poison, life and the moment life decides to step back. In folklore, it belongs to the fairy folk, the in-between ones, the ones who exist on the edges of perception. They say fairies wear its little bells like caps, or they even hide inside of them, and that these speckles in their throats are actually their fingerprints left behind. And if you planted a foxglove near your home, you weren't just gardening, you were setting a boundary. It was used in symbolic protection work, strengthening boundaries around the home, the self, and the dream space. In folk and modern magical traditions, it's associated with banishing, warding, and clearing distortions in perception or obsessive mental loops. In shadow and dream symbolism, it represents the act of facing what sits just beneath perception instead of escaping it. And across traditions, mostly one rule stays consistent: foxglove is not to be worked with lightly, because foxglove has always lived in paradox. In one form, it becomes a medicine, carefully prepared, refined, measured. It steadies a failing heart. But in another form, it stops that rhythm entirely, not symbolically, but literally. And that's the tension that it carries in every stem. It doesn't separate life from death. It holds them together. Foxglove is treated as a boundary plant, not something to be worked with casually, but worked with through intention, structure, and respect. And because of its toxicity, it's so toxic. One principle remains constant. It is observed, not rushed. Understood, not forced, because it's teaching the same beneath every myth. Power requires structure. Threshold requires awareness. And not every invitation is meant to be answered directly. Foxglove doesn't ask you to believe in magic. It asks you to notice where reality is already bending. And once you do, you realize the threshold was never in the plant. It was in perception itself. The 411 on planting is nutrient-rich soil, even moisture, and part shade. That means no more than 6 hours of the early sunlight during the day, not the afternoon. So this one's going in the poison part of my garden. You can see this, but it's my little baby got a nice shade. It's so cute. So this is usually where the clever segue to the next flower goes, but I don't know what I'm doing yet. It'll be a surprise. See you then.